off, and they look as if they've moved back into the pit area. So perhaps I was speaking to the team last night, and they changed a couple of sensors on the boat, on the engine, and they were positive that it fixed it, but evidently not. Not to worry though, we've still got a competitive field of boats out there, and the start boat has got the red flag up, so we're only a few minutes away from a race start here. So if you're in the surrounding areas, get trackside, get up and close to the water, because that's where the action is, and it's about to go off for our sports boats today. Here at Lake Macquarie, the beautiful weather is on. The sun's out. The wind is just it feels as if it's starting to pick back up a little bit. There's a few white caps back out and about on the water. The water's moving, and this is exciting water for these race boats. Well, ladies and gentlemen, race fans here at Lake Macquarie and around the world tuning in on the GP Hydro live stream. We are back for our second race of the day, and it is indeed the Super Sports boats, our 85 mile an hour and our 65 mile an hour boats. The racing was tight yesterday. There were a couple of breakdowns in the category and also an incident with a couple of drivers being flung from the boat. But they're okay, and their boat's back out on the water, and some of the broken boats are back out as well. The start boat is flying the white flag, so we're a couple minutes from the commencement of our parade lap. Now, the parade lap is an opportunity for these drivers to familiarise themselves with the course and the conditions. The conditions, even in the last hour, have changed quite significantly. So this gives them that opportunity to familiarise themselves and get ready for when that white flag drops. You'll see out to where they're situated, there's two orange marker buoys. Those are our start gate buoys. The start boat will lead the boats around on the parade lap with the white flag up. And when they get to those buoys, the boats will be lined up in their pole positions and the white flag will drop and they'll be free to race. In front of the race control truck here, you'll see the beautiful black, blue and white race control truck. I'm standing on top of it talking. If you get to the front, you'll see two checkered buoys. They're our finish line, so that's where the boats finish their laps and finish the entirety of the race. So, who have we got out on the water today? In pole 1 in our 85 mile an hour category, it is the Colonel Racing, Mick and Jason Kelly. Pole 2 is RS Motorsport, Ryan Shan and Scott Kelly. And out of pole 3, it's Hayden Wachewski in the C52. That's the white Argo Cat canopied boat, single outboard, 300R. He's done a good job to get that boat back out on the water after an incident last season. And he went well yesterday, and hopefully he can back it up today, starting out of pole 3. Unfortunately, as I just mentioned, we did see Mark the Russian and Mel Nelson pulling back into the pits. They had some gremlins with their engine yesterday. We could hear it popping and banging and running pretty awfully. And I spoke to the team yesterday. They spent all night working on it. They thought they got to the bottom of their problems. They'd changed a few sensors on the engine, but unfortunately, they've headed back to the pits. The start boat has picked up the race boats, and we can see the commencement of our parade lap. That white flag is flying high, and those race boats are being led around the course for our parade lap. Now, in our 65 mile an hour category, in pole 1, it's Harry Backer and Shane Payton from the Nutcase, Razorcraft Racing. Pole number 2 is Hun 74, Greg Walters. He had an awesome race yesterday, unfortunately broke out, but he maintained the second position, so that's where he's starting from tomorrow. The 65 mile an hour category in the flat water yesterday experienced a lot of breakouts. Breakouts, of course, are exceeding the speed limit. For their case, it's the 65 mile an hour. And they all seem to be happening along the back stretch of the course where the boats are right now. The water was running with them, and a lot of the boats were jumping up over that speed limit. Pole number 3, we've got Aaron Jackson from All Coast Marine. He's in a new boat today. I haven't even seen the boat. I couldn't tell you what it is. But he's here. He's brought a different boat for today. So he's out, and he raced strong yesterday, and he's going to be out racing hard today. Pole number 4, PFM Revolution, Matthew Simpson and Kai Lee. They did a ripper job yesterday. Unfortunately, they broke out and had a few issues inside the boat. But I think from what I've heard, they've rectified such problems, and they're out to go hard today. Pole number 5 is the Villain, Danny and Dean Cayley, the father-son combination. They're the unfortunate ones that had the incident yesterday out on that top end of our course. They laid the boat over on its side, and they were both ejected from the boat. Fortunately, though, they've been checked out by our paramedics, and they're all okay. They've passed all necessary tests, and it's good to see them and the beautiful Coodercraft Villain back out on the water. Pole number 6 is Water Sports Marine Racing, Anthony McAnally and Darren Tickell. They actually raced in the 85 mile an hour category yesterday, but the boat didn't like the conditions. It was too rough for their ski style boat, so they've dropped down into the 65 mile an hour category. They're running by far the most horsepower, so they should be in with a fighting chance in this category, but they didn't quite have the confidence up in the 85 mile an hour category today, and I think they've made the right decision because it definitely looks slightly rougher today than it was yesterday. That wind's picked back up. We got a few white caps out there. The water's got some movement in it, and that's the perfect water for these sort of boats. We jump on board on the GP Hydro live stream with Harry Backer and Shane Payton on the Razorcraft. They're out of pole 1. Razorcraft Racing, Nutcase, number 17, a formidable force in that 65 mile an hour category. So they're the pole position 1 in 65 mile an hour category. And of course, like our super boats, we have the 85 mile an hour boats, the faster boats starting on the front row, and 100 or so metres behind them, the 65 mile an hour boats will be running out of poles there. So an exciting day of racing's in store. This race is going to be a ripper. I love the sports boats. There's a great variety of boats, right from leisure boats or just performance boats, right up to some thoroughbred offshore race boats with the likes of the genuine 24-foot skater cat of the Colonel and the 25-foot, 26-foot, I believe, Shifty Cat of RS Motorsport. Of course, the Shifty Cat built on the Gold Coast by Paul Gibbs, just like the Sting that we saw last race. So it's good to see that some of these Australian-built boats are really up to the forefront of the runnings in these offshore races. So as these boats trundle along around that 40-mile-an-hour mark on our parade lap, they're getting familiar with the course, with the conditions, and they're under the control of the start boat. So as they come around the top, they'll form into their pole positions that I just mentioned as they head towards those orange marker buoys, which will be our start gate. And of course, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the Lake Macquarie Council and Empire Marinas for putting on the show, hosting us so we can bring our show here for all you guys. They did an awesome job with the street parade last night. I hope some of you guys here were there because it was a phenomenal evening. Big crowd, all the boats were on display and it was absolutely ripping. Action Property Maintenance is out there with Hayden Wachewski. He does all our trophy, all our silverware for the series, so a big congratulations to him. And of course Hornet Property Services and Mick Kelly in the Colonel, sponsoring both the Colonel and the series. A ripping bloke, a ripping team, and their contribution to our league is very appreciated. And of course Wilson Lift, they're the ripper blokes that do the craning for our boats. They get all the boats safely in the water, so if you need any craning services, Wilson Lift are the guys to hit up. Very professional team, and we love having them on board here at Lake Macquarie. The boats are heading up the top end of our course. They're going to start forming up into their pole positions. And if we can have some of the racing that we saw in the 600 horsepower category in this race, I'm going to be a happy boy up in the commentary box. As we see some of our drivers from the previous race head to the shoreline. We've got Matt Kelly from the Mantis, the man of the moment. Good move, Matt, down in that bottom end of the course to pick up position 1. We get the thumbs up from him. Very exciting stuff. Boats are starting to form up into their pole positions, and we're going to have a race start in around 30 seconds, I'm going to guess. So if you're in the surrounding area, if you're not trackside, you better get here because it's about to go off, and we're going to see some ripper racing here at Lake Macquarie on the second day of round 1 of the Australian Offshore Superboat Championships. Jumping back on board on the GP Hydro live stream, on board with the Razorcraft team, the nutcase out of pole 1. I really love these onboard shots that we get here. It gives you a real good insight onto what the drivers are doing, the conditions that are out there, and how they're handling their boats in these race conditions. As we come heading towards, we've got about 100 or so metres towards our orange marker buoys, and we're going to have a race start any second now. The white flag is up and the boats are forming into their line. We've got the Colonel just sitting behind. I wonder if they're going to try some cheeky moves on the start here, but we're approaching our start line for the 85-mile-an-hour boats. The flag is up for the start boat, and the flag has dropped, and we are racing. It's RS Motorsport with a strong start. Back to the Colonel, then C52 as they jump up and out of the water down that back section of the track. It's RS Motorsport with about a boat length over Colonel Racing. Then back a few boat lengths to Hayden Wachewski in the C52. A great start as we head to our 65-mile-an-hour category boats, and it looks as if it's Water Sports Marine just with the nose ahead. Maybe Razorcraft, I'm going to say, in position 1. They've got a good start. Back to the Villain, I'm going to predict, in maybe pole 3 there. Greg Walters in Hun 74 looks as if he's just got a nose ahead as the Razorcraft is up and out of the water, jumping all over the place for these smaller boats. Our 85-mile-an-hour boats are coming across the front here, and it's going to be the Colonel, Mick and Jason Kelly, just with a nose ahead of Ryan Shan and Scott Kelly in the RS Motorsport. Our 24-foot Skater Cat in the lead, back to the 26-foot Shifty Cat. Both very competitive boats, very successful boats. and very successful drivers on board those boats. So the racing between those two is going to be hot today, as we see Hayden Wachewski of C52 just a little bit behind. I was talking to him yesterday and he had some trim issues. He lost control of his trim on his boat, so he might be fighting those gremlins still. Here come the 65-mile-an-hour boats. It's going to be Harry Backer and Shane Payton in the nutcase, just in front by about a boat length of Greg Walters, Hun 74. Back to PFM Revolution, All Coast Marine, Team Villain, Danny and Dean Cayley. Back to Water Sports Marine. They're just struggling to find that pace in these conditions. Are the Water Sports Marine racing of Anthony McAnally and Darren Tickell. But tight racing here, as we see the 85-mile-an-hour boats head up the back straight. It's the Colonel with a few boat lengths lead over RS Motorsport. Fierce racing between those two, and RS Motorsport looked as if they had a really, really strong start. But they didn't quite hold that speed through turn number one, and the Colonel have absolutely maximised that, and they've got a good lead coming through this first lap here. They raced strong yesterday. They picked up 2 wins. And they're going to be hoping to go back-to-back. As we see the 65-mile-an-hour category boats coming onto our back straightaway here. It's Harry Backer and Shane Payton in a Razorcraft, the nutcase. Back to Greg Walters out of pole 2, and he's racing strong. He had a couple of breakouts yesterday, so unfortunately couldn't get maximise his points, but he's back, and hopefully he's keeping that boat beneath that speed limit. It looks as if it's then the PFM Revolution boys. Matthew Simpson and Kai Lee, the young blokes, they're getting the job done. And Hayden Wachewski just fallen back in C52, sitting with those 65-mile-an-hour boats. And that is indeed an 85-mile-an-hour boat. But he's just struggling to find the pace, as he's currently been overtaken by the whole field. So maybe some gremlins on board that boat today. From the PFM Revolution boys, it's All Coast Marine, Aaron Jackson. Back to Team Villain, number 300, Danny and Dean Cayley. They're the ones that had the incident yesterday. So they're starting out the back of the field today. And they may well take a couple of laps to get the confidence back up. It is the second incident for those boys this year. So they're going to be getting their confidence back up throughout the course of the race. But we see our 85-mile-an-hour category boats coming into the bottom end of the turn. And it is indeed the Colonel just in front still, I believe. They've poked around the bottom end of this peninsula, and I just can't quite pick up on where they are. But I'm seeing Ryan Shan heading down into the bottom, and the boat's looking good, the boat's looking strong, and they're getting faster and faster every race. And it's a relatively new boat for those guys. They had last season. Ryan brought it back over from New Zealand, and he's put in a lot of work to get the boat to where it is. And I'll tell you what, I can see Ryan Shan and Scott Kelly, but I cannot see the Colonel. I believe I've missed something. The Colonel's out the back somewhere. I'm being pointed to. They're out. The Colonel is out of the race. I can't believe it, ladies and gentlemen. It's RS Motorsport of Ryan Shan and Scott Kelly picking up first place here. I cannot see out where the Colonel are. They're on the back end of the course, and they've ground to a halt here on the second day of our racing. They had gearbox issues in some testing on Friday night, and I hope that they haven't been haunted by the same sort of problems, but they are well and truly out of action, and I can just see them floating around up the top end of the course now. Very unfortunate for those boys, but Ryan Shan and Scott Kelly absolutely maximised that, and they're sitting in a strong position with a good lead over the struggling Hayden Wachewski in C52. Our 65-mile-an-hour category boats are going to come down that bottom turn. That's a tighter turn, that one, that left-hander down there. And it really tests the drivers here and their skills. And they're rounding that now, and they're going to come back across our front straightaway. And I'm going to tell you, it's going to be Harry Backer and Shane Payton from the nutcase, Razorcraft Racing, just with a few boat lengths ahead of Greg Walters of Hun 74. Greg's doing a ripper job. He's relatively new to the sport. He's one of the most passionate blokes you'll meet. He absolutely loves it, and he's here to race hard, as are Harry Backer and Shane Payton. One of the best duos in this 65-mile-an-hour category. As I tell you what, the PFM Revolution boys are looking at poking a nose alongside Hun 74, Greg Walters. They're going to come into turn number 2 on the outside, and it looks as if it's going to be forming up into about a 3-boat wide turn. They're gaining a bit of time on the nutcase, Harry Backer and Shane Payton. It's going to be good racing into there with Aaron Jackson from All Coast Marine just lurking in the background. He's not going to let anything slip. He's a good driver. He knows the boat well, and he's going to maximise on any mistakes that that these guys that are battling hard make, as Water Sports Marine Racing, Anthony McAnally and Darren Tickell come across the front. And I'm just going to look to pick up who comes out in front of turn number 2 here at Lake Macquarie. I'm going to pick Nutcase. They had that inside line, so they're going to be strong. It is indeed Harry Backer in the Nutcase, back to Greg Walters, and it looks as if the PFM Revolution boys have lost a little bit of time through that corner. They may have tried to make a move on the outside there, and may well have lost some time. It happens around there. You get caught in a bit of wake of those inside boats, and it's very easy to lose some time and some meters on those boats in front of you. So they're not going to be too happy inside that boat, but they certainly look as if they've sorted out their problems that they were having today, because they're on fire. They're racing strong, they're racing hard, and it looks as if Greg Walters has popped his nose in front of Harry Backer and Shane Payton, the Nutcase Racing, on that back straightaway. Hopefully he hasn't broken out again like he did in both races yesterday. He had a bit of an unfortunate day. The boat was fast, and he was confident, but his right foot was a little bit heavy as he crept above that 65 mile an hour speed limit for the class. Harry Backer and Shane Payton of the Nutcase Racing have the inside line, and it looks as if they're going to poke their nose back in front of Greg Walters of Hun 74. PFM Revolution boys are right up amongst it, just lurking behind, waiting for a mistake to happen to jump on this opportunity, and it is indeed the Nutcase have poked their nose in front. They've had the inside line, they've maximised the pace, and they've got back in front of the Hun 74. Great racing here in the 65 mile an hour category as Ryan Shan and Scott Kelly of RS Motorsport come back across the front. Straight away here, they're doing steady in position 1 for our 85 mile an hour category. And it's going to be interesting because Greg's on the outside along the back straightaway, but that's going to transfer to the inside line coming into this right-hander. So is he going to pull off the switcheroo? Who knows? We see he has got the pace. It's all going to come down to has he got the commitment to stick it back up the inside of the Nutcase Racing. Looks as if it's just about the Razorcraft Nutcase Racing in front by about a boat length, leaving very little racing room as they launch out of the water. Definitely the rougher end of the track down there. We saw in the bigger boat racing, the super boats, that they were up and about at that bottom end of the course, and PFM Revolution up and out and about. It's all going on in the 65 mile an hour category. It's Harry Backer and Shane Payton with a few boat lengths, I'm going to say, over Greg Walters in Hun 74. Back another few boat lengths to the PFM Revolution boys, the young guns on board that boat. They're going to be have the fire in the eyes, and they're going to be hunting down the two lead boats there. Back to All Coast Marine, Aaron Jackson getting the job done in a new boat for today. Different boat for him today. I haven't been able to catch up with him this morning to see why he changed boats, but he's in a new boat and he's doing well. Danny and Dean Cayley, Coodercraft Team Villain, doing well after their incident yesterday. They rolled it over at the top end of the course there, and they were both ejected from the boat, but they're both okay. They've been checked out by our team of paramedics here, and they're back in action for some offshore racing. Nutcase Racing, Harry Backer and Shane Payton, as Shane gives a wave to the crowd. He's getting the job done well. A great pairing. They've been together in that boat for a while, and they've got the setup dialed. Here comes Greg Walter riding solo on the Haynes Hunter, Hun 74, getting the job done. PFM Revolution boys. I was speaking to them yesterday, and Matthew, I believe, who's driving, his helmet was shifting on his head. It was peeling backwards. They've got the open face helmets, and it looked as if the visor was causing a bit of drag, and he was saying that he was having huge dramas with his helmet on his head, so he had to slow down to sort that out, and he lost a lot of time. But hopefully that silly little gremlin has been cleared for today. Water Sports Marine Racing, Anthony McAnally and Darren Tickell doing well. They dropped down to the 65 mile an hour class, just getting familiar with these conditions here. Now, I should mention this sports category racing is really good for new racers and people who want to get into the sport, because it's a Colonel Racing interrupting me as they are back in action. I tell you, I don't know where they came from, but Colonel Racing are back in action and sounding good. So clearly not the gearbox dramas that they have been experiencing. A shutdown of some sort, but they're back and it's sounding good. It's up on the plane and they're running fast. And as I was saying, we've got a vast mix of boats here in these sports categories. We've got all the way from Aaron Jackson in All Coast Marine. He had the Cruise Craft Bow Rider out yesterday, which is just really a leisure boat, but apparently a fast leisure boat, as he put up a really good fight. All the way up to the likes of the 24-foot Skater Cat, which is one of the most legendary and recognised boats in offshore racing, which is, of course, what the Colonel is, and the 26-foot Shifty Cat, which is the RS Motorsport. Now, there are a lot of production boats in here too. We've got the likes of Razorcraft and Cootercraft, who build excellent fishing boats, excellent leisure boats, and they bring their product here to test on the hardest platform of all, which is, of course, offshore racing. Whether it's here at Lake Macquarie or in all of our other venues, it's some of the hardest racing that anyone will ever do. It's hard on the boats, it's hard on the drivers, and they're here to test their product so they can bring the best results and the best boats to the public. So Razorcraft, Cootercraft, Team Villain is a Cootercraft Villain. It's the same boat that anyone here can go out and buy today for their own purposes, for fishing, for racing, or for leisure purposes. Same with the Razorcraft, and that Razorcraft actually is the standard hull that they produce, but it's got a different top deck on it, a slightly racier deck on top. As with the Cootercraft Boss, that unfortunately isn't out on the race course, the special edition Mark the Russian and Mel Nelson with the beautiful Maritimo built big block racing engine in the back of it, that's the standard hull of a Cootercraft Boss with a different top deck on it, and of course a great big hole in it for that 9-litre big block engine. If you look to our middle of our course where our safety boats are, we've actually got a Cootercraft Boss sitting right out the front here, and that's the same hull as Mark's race boat, which is a very successful race boat. He used to race a standard Boss and a standard Villain, which were both very successful. He won championships in both, and now he's setting up this new boat with the big block, and the results are going to start coming. Unfortunately, reliability's been an issue this weekend for them. As we look back to our 65-mile-an-hour category, and the PFM Revolution boys are sticking it up the inside of Greg Walters, Hun 74, into turn number 1, our tight left-hander. It's one of the tightest corners on our course, and that's where we saw the Mantis make that terrific move on the Sting last race. They absolutely shoved it up the inside and got the job done and came out our front straightaway on top. And it's going to be the Nutcase still with a bit of a lead. Harry Backer and Shane Payton, they're a reliable pairing, and that boat's powered by the Mercury 300 what do we got? 300 horsepower 4-stroke on the back of that boat, and they're doing well here. And it is indeed the PFM Revolution with the 2-stroke Mercury in second place. They've picked up a position over Greg Walters. He's not going to be a happy man. He's generally a happy man, but he's not going to be happy now as the Colonel are back in action, barking their way along the front straightaway. Those 2-stroke Mercuries sound absolutely phenomenal. You just can't beat them, really. Good racing in this category here today. Team Villain, they've got the Pro XS Mercury on, and they're doing a good job. They're recovering their confidence and their egos after their slight incident yesterday. Watersport Marine Racing with a 450R Mercury Racing, 450 of course horsepower, one of the more powerful boats out on the water today, and just getting the job done. They've had a hiatus from offshore racing, but they're back. And they're getting themselves familiar with what we do here. RS Motorsport, Ryan Shannon, Scott Kelly. Sitting steadily in position 1 in the 85-mile-an-hour category. And this is a perfect opportunity for those guys to start to really they're in a safe position here. They've got a good lead. They can start doing some more adjustments and really start getting to know that boat more and more and get the skills up inside that boat. That, of course, is a Shifty Cat built on the Gold Coast by Paul Gibbs, one of the legends of the sport. And that boat had a stint over in New Zealand. And Ryan Shan brought it back last year or late the year before. And he's done a lot of work to that boat. It's sent off to Razorcraft, who Harry Backer and Shane Payton are racing with. And Harry fiberglassed up parts of the hull that were damaged, gave it a fresh paint job. And if you're in the pits, check that boat out because it looks absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, it looks really good, that boat. They've had the cockpit reinforced to meet up with our current standards. So that boat's a very safe boat. The inside's been painted up by Harry and the team at Razorcraft. So good to see that boat back in Australia, and Ryan Shan and Scott Kelly getting the job done well inside the cockpit of that boat. So check them out, because it's cool to see some of those thoroughbred offshore race boats in these sports categories. As we're approaching 13 minutes to go in this race, and I'm going to move to my timing screen because I'm interested to see what sort of lap times we're pumping out here. Nutcase sitting at about a 4:14. PFM Revolution did a 4:10 on their last lap, so they've found some pace. They went 4 seconds faster than our leaders on that last lap, so they've found some magnificent pace in that boat, and they're moving towards the front of the field strongly. As the 65-mile-an-hour boats come through that right-hand turn that we've got on this beautiful Lake Macquarie course, and you can see them just bouncing out of the water, working hard to keep these boats under control. Here come the Colonel. They've got the boat sitting beautifully. They may not be in position, but have a good look at that boat. That's what a race boat should sit like. Our 65s coming down that bottom end of the course. They're going to come back along the front straightaway here. Field is starting to space out between the two classes, but not at all between the 65s. The racing's absolutely on as Ryan Shan and Scott Kelly start rounding up those boats. Obviously, the faster boats are going to come across, overtaking the slower boats. So that's plays a factor in the racing. They've got to negotiate those boats and stay out of that rough water, that wake, and negotiate that lap traffic safely. Harry Backer, Shane Payton, the Razorcraft Cold Front, Nutcase Racing, doing a good job with the PFM Revolution boys crossing the line. I'm going to go back to my timing sheet. PFM Revolution just did a 1 second faster lap than the Nutcase, so they're still steadily gaining time. As Aaron Jackson from All Coast Marine in the Formula, the 233 Formula, I believe is what I've been told that boat is, and he's doing a ripper job today. So the PFM Revolution boys, the young guns, they're fast. They're hunting down Harry Backer and Shane Payton in the Razorcraft Nutcase. They went 3 seconds faster the previous lap and 1 second faster the lap just gone. So they've gained 4 seconds over the last couple of laps. So the pace they've found in that boat is absolutely amazing. I just hope they haven't broken out of their speed category either. They did yesterday. They had some breakouts for them. So hopefully they've learnt their lesson and they've kept it below that limit. So with 10 minutes to go on this race, we're going to have a half an hour break after the finish of this race, and then our super boats are going to be back out on the water. We're going to have the big dogs out and about, hopefully some more epic racing. I hope Acme Racing have sorted out their issues and we might see them back out on the water, but if not, I'm expecting some more great racing from that 600 horsepower category. You saw an awesome battle between the Sting and the Mantis, and I hope they can keep that up. Colonel Racing, Mick and Jason Kelly. I think there's 3 Kellys in this race alone. So Kelly's everywhere in offshore powerboating, and of course Mick with Hornet Property Services doing a great job contributing to our sport. Here comes Hayden Wachewski, C52. Just lacking a little bit of pace today. I wonder what's going on inside that boat. I know he didn't have trim yesterday, and he might just be lacking a bit of confidence. It's slightly windier now, and maybe without controlling that trim, who knows, he might just not be very comfortable inside that boat today. Nonetheless, he'll be sitting in, I'd imagine, still second place after the Colonel had a few laps off with some gremlins, so still picking up good points for the championship, and it can only be up from here for Hayden. Here come the Colonel boys. Those 200X Mercuries for a total of 400 horsepower are sounding phenomenal as they come along our front straightaway here. And we look up the back, we see Ryan Shan and Scott Kelly from RS Motorsport, the beautiful Shifty Cat, has made their move on the entirety of the 65-mile-an-hour field. They're back in clean water, so they're going to continue to charge on hard. And I want to look at our 85-mile-an-hour boats and what their lap times are at. So we see RS Motorsport, their previous lap was a 3:32, a 3:37 to the Colonel back on the water doing 3:13s, 3:23s. So it looks as if RS Motorsport are playing it safe. They don't want to risk anything. They don't want to risk an incident, a breakdown. They're taking it a little bit easier, whereas the Colonel boys, they've only got this race to do for the weekend. They're going to be throttles pinned the entire way around, trying their best to catch back up. And there's 8 minutes to go, so anything's possible in offshore powerboat racing. That's what we love about the sport. As we see these 65-mile-an-hour category boats coming back down into the bottom end of the course, it's Harry Backer and Shane Payton in the Razorcraft with a little bit of a lead over the PFM Revolution boys still. They just can't quite get onto the tail of that Razorcraft racing boat. RS Motorsport. The boat looks immaculate. That paint job, that beautiful orange that Razorcraft have done has come up a treat, and the boat looks good and it looks fast out on Lake Macquarie here today. Here come our 65-mile-an-hour boats. It's going to be Harry Backer and Shane Payton of Razorcraft Racing here still in front. They're doing a ripper job, a very solid pairing as we see Shane Payton, the co-pilot, looking back at the positions of these boats. PFM Revolution boys getting it done nicely. Greg Walters, never count him out. He's still got pace. They got around him, but he's lurking there. He's got the pace, as does Aaron Jackson in his 2:33 formula. He's doing very well just to hold on to the back of those boys. Let's look to the lap times. We see PFM Revolution just posting a 4:12 to the Nutcases 4:11. So the Nutcase have found just a touch of pace on that previous lap there, and we see All Coast Marine, the fastest lap just there, with a 4:10. Excellent lap from Aaron Jackson in the All Coast Marine. He's found some good pace, and you can see he's clawing those guys back. He's lurking. When these boats start to come together and they start to race tight, they overall lose a bit of time. So sometime the guy that's just out the back, that's just lurking, can jump on that opportunity from the racing boats slowing themselves down, and he could be with a solid chance to pick up a few positions in the dying moments of this race. We've got 6 minutes to go, so I suspect they'll do this lap plus one more for the completion of the half-hour period that these boats race for. And the racing is very much on. I'm still going to call it Harry Backer and Shane Payton in the lead, back to PFM Revolution, who look to have found some pace on the back straight. Here come Colonel Racing. Genuine 24-foot skater cat. One of the most recognised and successful boats in offshore powerboat racing, and it's an absolutely beautiful boat. It's been here in Australia in the sport and in the Kelly family for a long, long time. And it's beautiful to see that Mick's on board now with them to keep that boat here and to keep it up the competitive end of the field. They're your reigning 85-mile-an-hour champions, and they're here to defend that championship. And they've definitely done a good start on that. They picked up 2 first positions yesterday with Mark the Russian and Mel Nelson in the Coodercraft Special Edition, lucking out and not getting any points yesterday. Hayden Rashevsky, C52, just not quite up to where he was yesterday, but still nonetheless sitting in good position here to collect some points for the championship, in which he'll extend upon over the next few races. He had a bit of an incident in Geelong in the season just gone. He rolled that boat over. Luckily, he was okay, as was his co-pilot, but unfortunately, the engine took a little bit of harm. It swallowed a fair bit of water and bent some rods, I believe. So it's got a new motor on the back of that Argo Cat, and he's just getting familiar again, getting the confidence back up, and he's going to be a fierce competitor for the remainder of this series. As we see coming through the right-hand turn at the back of our racetrack, the 65-mile-an-hour field is in a single file, all a few boat lengths apart from each other. So absolutely anything is possible in this 65-mile-an-hour category. We've got a few minutes. We've got 4 minutes and 20 seconds remaining in this race. And the boats are all only a few boat lengths apart from each other, with Greg Walter at 174 looking as if he's gaining a bit of time on the PFM Revolution, as well as Aaron Jackson in the All Coast Marine as he launches up and out of the water, making some ground up on Greg Walter as well. So the racing is alive and well in the 65 mile an hour category. In these last few moments of the race, we'll probably see these boats go on to their final lap now, I would imagine. And this is where they're really going to pin those throttles, and they're going to be sitting right at the top end of that 65 mile an hour category here. Now, I should mention that the speed limits on these boats are not electronically or mechanically governed. They are governed purely by the skill of the drivers. These boats have a driver and a co-pilot. And as you can see, it's bunching up here in this last race. It's absolutely well and truly on. They have a driver and a co-pilot, so the co-pilot really keeps an eye on the conditions of the racing and makes sure that driver doesn't creep above that respective speed category. So as I said, no mechanical or electronic governing on the speed limits of these boats. It's purely down to driver skill as the coup de craft villain, Team Villain, comes across the front straightaway, just in the wash of those boats, and it's sitting nicely. Colonel Racing, Mick and Jason Kelly getting the job done. I love the sound of those two-stroke Mercuries, and they're doing a great job. They're back on the water. They're back collecting points for the championship. It's survival of the fittest here in offshore racing. They were out for a couple of laps, but they managed to get the boat back up and running, and they're in good stead to pick up some points here. 65 mile an hour are just exiting the turn number 2 here, and it's Harry Backer. He's extended a strong lead as this wind's picked up. Harry says he likes the rougher conditions. His boat likes the rougher conditions. And as this water starts moving about a bit and the wind picks up, that's showing. He's got a strong lead on him. So they'll be happy inside that boat. And it's back to PFM Revolution, who have extended. They had a good run through that turn. They've just got a little bit of time over Greg Walter. Let's see what our timing screen says here. PFM Revolution. This is how tight our sports category racing is, ladies and gentlemen. 174, 4 minute 11. PFM Revolution, 4 minute 11. All Coast Marine, 4 minute 11. Villain, 4 minute 11. They're all running identical lap times here, and that's the beauty of these categories with the speed limit, is it's really just down to your corner speed and your acceleration and how consistently you can hold that 65 or 85 mile an hour speed. As we see the Colonel just coming around the outside on that back straightaway, negotiating a little bit of lap traffic. He's coming past Greg Walters now. That can slow boats down. The faster boats, they can get caught in the wakes of those smaller boats, and when the racing's tighter, it plays a big part in your strategy of the race, where you can make moves, because you might see the boat in front of you struggling overtaking those smaller boats, and that's your time to pounce on those opportunities. But they're getting the job done nicely around the outside, and they're going to collect good points, as I'm going to predict it is going to be perhaps our final lap. If not, we might go on for one more. And I tell you what, actually, Ryan Shan and Scott Kelly are here, and we're going to go on for another lap here. Crossing the line with about 50 seconds to go, so they've managed to squeeze in one more lap as they start to put an overtake on Hayden Wachewski in the C52. He's not going to be too happy seeing boats in his own category overtake him for an overlap, but it is what it is, as they say. The Colonel flying as they launch out of the water on the back straightaway there, looking beautiful. The Razorcraft just getting caught up on their wake, bouncing around a little bit. Back to the PFM Revolution boys. They've just lost out on a bit of time on Harry Backer and Shane Payton in the Razorcraft. They've done a good last lap and they've extended that lead. And if they can keep it together, they're on for a strong win here for their final race of the weekend. Greg Walters is looking at the back. He's sniffing at the back of that PFM Revolution boat. He's got his nose all up and about there. He's looking to make a move, I'm sure, on the final lap of this race. You can never count him out. He's a fierce competitor and very passionate, and he's going to want to pick up as many points, I should say, as he can. Colonel Racing, Mick and Jason Kelly, some of the best racers in the series that we have here. He does a ripper job, him and Mick in that boat. Always have. That boat's been in the Kelly family for a long time. and they get the job done, race in or race out. Harry Backer, Shane Payton. Shane giving a wave to the crowd as he comes by in the dying stages of this race. PFM Revolution are being absolutely hunted down by Greg Walter in the Hun 74. He needs to keep a good eye on his speedo because he's gaining some serious time, and I don't know where it's come from because he's pulled it out in the final lap of this race. I tell you what, he did a second faster lap, and the previous lap was 3 seconds faster over those PFM Revolution boys. So the last 2 laps, he's gained 4 seconds on them. If he can pick off another couple of seconds, he may well and truly be in for a second place in this final race of the weekend for our sports boats. As Ryan Shan and Scott Kelly rounding the top end of the course, they're going to come down to collect the checkered flag at the end of this race, as we see the 21-foot ring Steve Carter in the start boat is just positioned by these checkered boys, and he's going to wave the checkered flag to signal the end of the race. It is indeed Ryan Shan and Scott Kelly, RS Motorsport, charging hard down the back straightaway. They're going to pick up a win, and they're going to be very happy. That's excellent points for their championship. And a first win for them in this boat, and they're going to be wrapped for the season. As we look back towards the 65-mile-an-hour boats, as the PFM Revolution boys look to just hold a bit more pace out of that second corner of our track as they head along the back straightaway. They always seem to pull a little bit of a gap. The field extends along the back there. We noticed that in our previous race. As the checkered flag is up in the start boat, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have RS Motorsport of Ryan Shan and Scott Kelly coming across the line any minute now. Here they come in the beautiful shifty catamaran, RS Motorsport, AAA Racing. Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, for your 85-mile-an-hour provisional winners. Now I say provisional winners because they submit their GPSs to race control. Provided that they are under that 85 or 65-mile-an-hour limit, they will hold that win. So I'm not getting too excited yet, but that was a very solid race from those boys, so congratulations. So we've just got a little bit of a gap to the next boat, and it's going to be the Colonel Racing, who I suspect has picked back up second place. They've put on a few laps on Hayden Wachewski, so well done. Put your hands together for Colonel Racing as well as Hayden Wachewski in the C52. Well done, particularly to the Colonel boys, getting that boat back up in action for our final race here today. It's always good to see them get back out. And the more boats on the water, the merrier. As the wind, I'm feeling, is really starting to pick up for our third and final race of the day, which is, of course, our super boats, our Supercat Extremes, powered by our 2 big block racing engines, and our Supercat 600s, our 2 300 horsepower outboard canopied boats. They're going to be hitting the water in just over half an hour's time. So if you hear trackside or on the GP Hydro live stream, stick around because the action is still to come as our 65-mile-an-hour boats round the final turn for the race. And it's going to be Harry Backer and Shane Payton from Razorcraft Racing in the nutcase coming out in front, provided that they haven't broke out. They're going to secure position 1, and it's going to be tight between Greg Walters and in Hun 74 and the PFM Revolution boys. I saw him coming into the corner hot, but for now, put your hands together for your provisional winners in the 65-mile-an-hour category. It's Harry Backer and Shane Payton, Razorcraft Racing. And it is indeed back to the PFM Revolution boys. Second place provisional in 65 mile an hour, and Greg Walters, your provisional third place. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together as well for Aaron Jackson from Old Coast Marine, coming home in a solid 4th. And it's on for a photo finish for our final positions of the race. It's going to be Team Villain, Danny and Dean Cayley, just picking up 5th. Back to Water Sports Marine Racing, Anthony McAnally and Darren Tickell. They really charged hard on the final stages of the race there. So, well done to all our sports boats competitors. That is indeed the final race for them this weekend of round one of the 2024-2025 Australian Offshore Superboat Championships here at Lake Macquarie. In a short moment, I'll get back to you all here with confirmed results for the race. But for now, if you're trackside here, go and get some food, get a cold drink, and be back in half an hour for our second superboat race for the day and our third and final race for the day.